There we go.
Yay!
Second time's a
We
charm,
figured it
yes.
out.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, we are joined by Miss DeLona Turner, all the way from Nashville, Music City, Tennessee.
Hi y'all. How y'all doing tonight?
I'm glad that you was able to join us. Was kind of playing kind of tight with the time, but we made it.
We made it. That's the most important part, is we made
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
it.
ma'am. So definitely excited to have you this evening. Of course, I was telling the listeners, you have a new project out that's called Burning Journals.
I
Right?
do.
But before we get to that, we're gonna a question that I always ask every time we open up, just to understand the artist, the person behind the music. So, who is DeLona Turner?
So DeLona Turner does a lot of different things, but I
Mm-hmm.
think right now the stage of her life is walking on faith. um, Outside of music, I'm in the education space, but I really have been singing. I know that's a cliche. I really have been singing since I was like this big. Um, my late grandparents, they had a church in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and I am a preacher's kid through and through. I'm talking Church of God in Christ, like in church 6 days a week.
Yeah.
That was my childhood. So definitely a preacher's kid through and through, and that is really where I fell in love with music, and not just music and musicality and instruments and praise and worship, but the feelings that you could get from listening to a certain song or listening to a certain singer. And I knew from a very young age, as I watched my mom, who was an incredible artist, an incredible singer, and toured without greed and did all the things, I would sit in the pew and I would watch my mom not just sing up in front of everybody, but to get to see everyone's reaction and how her voice made people feel. And I knew that that is what I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to learn how to sing one day and make people feel something,
Yes.
you
Mm-hmm.
know? So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Well, I must say, you're the second person I had today that grew up Koji.
Okay.
I had
There ain't a lot of us, honestly.
I had Xavier Musgrove on earlier today, and of course, just like you, he said he was at church pretty much every day, all day.
Every day.
So, just to jump in into um, Burning Journal, the new project, right? Of
Yes.
course, you mentioned you're PK, right?
Yes.
So this is not all PK music, so
It ain't.
so.
It is not.
And I know even in your bio, you mentioned that for your song "Discreet," you was kind of nervous about how it would be perceived because, like you say, people. Well, how can I word this without getting us in trouble? People
Without
can
calling out
be,
the
yeah.
thing.
Sometimes they can be a little judgmental or like, why they doing this? Why they, that's not how they grew up. What made you gain the confidence
Hmm.
to, all right, I'm going to write this song, I'm going to go ahead and record it, and I'm going to release it? Like, what gave you the confidence to just do it?
That's a really good question. I think all of the songs on Burning Journals are really special because they show a different side of me and all of it is
Mm-hmm.
authentic. But
Mm-hmm.
particularly with Discreet, knowing that it was talking about love and
Mm-hmm.
sensuality, I thought that it was really good for me to have a sense of representation to say that you can still love God, you could still come from the church, and you can still have that other side of you as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if there's a ton of representation right now
Mm-hmm.
in that space. And yes, I do sing R&B, but again, my roots are directly tied to
Yeah.
church. So I think that it's important to see both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is what gave me the courage and the confidence to not only write it, but then to go in the studio and record it and release it to the world and accept any spectrum of comments or feedback, right? Like from
Mm-hmm.
folks who have known me growing up in the church even till now.
Mm-hmm.
It's all valid. People, are entitled to their opinion and how it makes them feel. But I think in that moment, I just really prioritized how that song made me feel, and it felt
Mm-hmm.
very authentic to me. So that was the most important part for me.
And when creating this project, like what was that process like?
It it was not linear.
Mm,
For anybody watching right now, who has this like idea of what it means to be an artist, or hopefully, you know, someone that's watching wants to also embark on their own musical journey.
mm,
Just know from the gate, it's not linear. It is not like I'm gonna write a song, I'm gonna get with the right people, we're gonna record it. Like it did not go that way at all. And I
mm,
think the beauty of Burning Journals being so intimate and so vulnerable and, like I said, authentic to me was that I'm happy I went through that. Like I'm
mm,
happy I went through the bumps and just not knowing what I didn't know at the time and kind of learning as I go and driving on the learning curve. Because
mm,
honestly, a lot of people don't want to admit it, but that's the best way to cut your teeth. I
yeah.
feel like if you kind of come into this space feeling like you know everything, you
Mm-hmm.
will be humble very, very quickly. So the process was the process was writing for a few months. Obviously you write a set of songs just kind of depending on how you feel at that time. Maybe you'll scrap two, maybe you'll keep others. And I was just really, really fortunate to honestly live in Nashville and be in Music City and kind of be in proximity to some of the best musicians and producers and
Mm-hmm.
engineers like in the country. So that was a flex for me that I kind of had that accessibility and proximity just based on where I lived. But
Yes.
it was very much a labor of love. It took a lot of time. It took a lot of intention. But
Mm.
once I kind of found that sweet spot and kind of found my clear pathway, it was kind of go from there. Hence the single last summer, and then hence the full release of the EP last month. So
So like I know some artists like when they do a whole project, they have different emotions. Like once it's released, like were you nervous? Were you confident that it was going to be success? How do you feel about that when you was
that's another good question. It was a bag of emotions. I mean,
mm,
obviously being a new artist, it can feel awkward and weird, right? Like
mm,
I mean, I wrote all of my own lyrics, you know, for this particular project, and it was my first one. And so it's competing with the feeling of I'm doing this because it truly is a spiritual practice for me, and I'm
mm,
doing this in a way that, and this might sound controversial, the audience comes last. I have to put
mm,
out and I have to write and I have to sing things that feel authentic to me. So
yes,
balancing that and being very confident and standing 10 toes down on that, but also at the same time, to your point, having that Kojic background and having friends who've known you for a long time and
yeah,
like, girl, we didn't know you could sing. Like, what happened? Why didn't you say nothing? You know?
yeah.
So it's newness, it's vulnerability. But obviously I'm gonna keep going. So it's something that I'm able to balance as far as being a bundle of nerves, but also feeling as if my voice and my message has a place in this world, and how dare I rob the world of that?
Mm. And another thing too, I always tell people, I shouldn't say tell. That's a bad way to say it. But when artists are working on projects, I always like, hey, let them know it gotta feel good to you, you
Hmm.
know, because if it doesn't feel good to you, it'll be a waste of time, putting it
Right,
out. So,
right.
I definitely appreciate, you bringing that up. Like, hey, yeah, it felt good to me.
Hmm.
Because it will come across like if you just singing a song, just be singing it, the audience, well,
Right,
most people they can tell. It's
right,
up there to be up there. So,
right.
especially growing up in the church, they ain't got no, they don't have no anointing, baby. They don't have no oil
You don't
or
have the
nothing.
spirit. Sit them down.
Yeah, sit them down. So I think all those parts, all those things that you learn growing up comes back and help you in this present time.
Right.
So yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. So I'm gonna move along here. What is your particular? What is your what is your creative process like? Do you need to hear the music first, or can you just start writing? Without the music, like everybody's different. So what? How do you compile a song?
Yeah, that's a good question. I try not to pigeonhole myself and say
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, my creative process leans one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Fun fact, I actually cannot play an instrument.
Oh,
I regret that every day.
it's never too late.
God, God bless my Nana. She tried so hard. when I was younger to put me in piano, but it wasn't cool and I didn't stick with it. And I like kick myself every day. I should have stuck with it. I have like this beautiful 84 key Casio Privia in the background, and I can only make chords, can't play a lick.
Oh man.
So with that though, it presents a unique set of challenges, but it's also, interestingly enough, kind of a creative outlet, because if I have an idea for a song in my head, the chords come from my head. So all of Burning Journals, I wrote the chords in my head, so to speak. So it was like voice notes on iPhone and vibes. And then I had help with the demo, and then obviously like the demo comes the full song and the full production. So it just kind of depends. I tend to be a hook first type of girly. So a concept will form in my head, and I'll kind of just put words to a hook and then kind of write the verses afterwards. And sometimes it's the complete opposite. So it's interesting. It can go back and forth. Just how I'm feeling, and go back and forth.
All right, I want to take a little moment to give a couple shout outs to some of our audience members here. We have Miss Tina Baker. She's watching out of Oklahoma City. We have Pastor Darrell Bass. He has a great group called the Delaware Boys. We have Sean Ryan Calloway. He's a pastor as well, and he's big on music. You know, we have Miss Kisha Grady. She's an awesome artist as well. We have Miss Christina Cicero. She's a radio personality. So a lot of great people. I can't read the other names on here. My eyes are terrible, but I just wanted to give a couple shout outs to those people.
Yeah.
So of course, you know, now that the project is out, like, what are you doing to, I guess, market the project? Because, you know, once you release it, you know, that's not it. That's not the finish line.
Yeah.
Keep pushing it. Whether it's social media or billboards, like, what are you doing to keep the momentum going?
Yeah, so I think the momentum definitely has stemmed from the release of In Love with the Leo, which was the single from the EP, and it charted #1 overseas in the UK. So that was super duper exciting. Thank you. It was super duper exciting. So I guess from this point, it's really like working with promoters, putting more content out, you know, on social media. This is totally going to be a you heard it here first moment. So I'm super excited to kind of give you all the little rundown of what's coming in the very new year, but I will be starting an acoustic cover series.
Nice.
In the new year, just so it feels authentic and it feels as if I'm communicating with my fans, not just when I have like a new record or a new single releasing, but it's more on a consistent basis. So super excited for that. So that's kind of being lumped in with the promo in this moment. But you know, as you know, like firsthand, social media, TikTok, Instagram, that is king right now. So it's really just, you know, keeping up that presence and keep putting out good music and good covers. So
you know, social media, that was my introduction to you. Through the sponsored ads. You know, it played, you know, snippets of songs. So that was my introduction to you. Then began following on Spotify. So that was my introduction. So the social media push is definitely working. For sure. So now we're going to transition to where we dig a little deeper now, okay?
Hey, here we go.
So put on your seatbelt, let's go. All right, so of course, you know, when it comes to your project, of course, all the songs are your babies. Is there like a certain song, like when you go out, is there a certain song off the project that you have to do, or your favorite song off the album?
I know, and it's so funny. I'm happy you preface that question with, I know all of your songs are your babies, because it's always so hard. It's always so hard to narrow down. To be honest with you, as we were kind of going through like the mixing and like the mastering process, it flip-flopped. Like obviously Love with the Leo was the single. Everybody crazy over that. The radio play was crazy on that. And so I was, okay, well, that's my baby. But I'm probably going to shock folks when I say this, but QLC, which stands for Quarter Life Crisis, it's probably my favorite song on the record, only because of how vulnerable the lyrics were
Yeah.
or are. And what's really funny, I know I kind of mentioned this in my bio, but I'll kind of mention it here again. Quarter Life Crisis was actually the first song that I wrote kind of for the EP,
Hmm.
but before Burning Journals even became the concept, Quarter Life Crisis kind of birthed the name of the EP.
Yes.
And so it was interesting because it's the bluesy, it's the rock, it's the soul
Yeah.
track on the project, and it's so when you listen to the whole EP from In Love with the Leo, the single down to Quarter Life Crisis, it is two very different vibes and very different messages. And
Hmm.
I almost didn't include Quarter Life Crisis on Burning Journals
Oh
because I was like,
wow.
I just don't know if it's going to be the vibe. It feels a little too vulnerable. Like, I'm not sure if putting myself out there lyrically in that way is the smartest thing to do as a new artist, as someone just starting out. Like, I don't know, right? But then it kind of goes back to what we were talking about before. It felt right and authentic to me. And it was one of the hardest songs that I've written because it was so personal and so vulnerable. And I think that would be the reason why it's my favorite, because it's kind of like a testament to that confidence and standing on, this may not fit like the radio, this may not fit like what y'all are dancing to in the club, like with In Love with the Leo, but it is so personal and authentic to me that I think, and I may go back on this. You may ask me in like a week, and I may change my mind. But for right now, I think that's my favorite song on the EP.
Yeah, it's a great song. So, and well, all the songs are great. Um, but like you said, it has a different kind of vibe. So, I'm a
Mm-hmm.
guitar player, so I get drawn in by certain sounds of the guitar. So, that's actually my favorite. Um, so, of course, you're an artist, you're an educator
Yes.
as well. Like when can you break down like what kind of what's the subject that you teach or you help
Yeah.
with?
Yeah. So I'm kind of in education across the board. So I'm in
Hmm.
ed tech.
Hmm.
And then I'm also an adjunct professor. And so I do a lot of observation work, observing teachers, and then I also teach family and community partnerships.
Hmm.
Fun fact, your girl got a master's in community development. So that academically is like my sweet spot, my baby. And so I used to kind of go back and forth and think, man, should I have started this musical journey sooner? Like, I was definitely the dedicated student from like 17 to 24. I was only a student from 17 to 24.
Hmm.
But then I'm reminded that everything works in divine timing, and
Hey,
there is no such thing as like a time clock. There is no such thing of what you
hey,
should be
baby.
doing at this time in this age. Like, it really is all in divine timing. So I'm grateful for kind of the journey that's led me here so far.
Has any of your students or your fellow teachers came over like, hey, I heard your music. Has that happened yet?
A few.
How did that
I try to
feel?
keep it separate, because I have like a very corporate professional persona, and then I have a persona where I feel like I'm a mad scientist in the studio. So I try to keep those personas separate. But I have had a few folks like, I only know one DALONA, and that's you. Like, so is this you?
So they're just thrown off by the music.
Right, but in a good way. And I'm like, okay, thank you.
I always ask that question when I know that an artist actually have a quote unquote 9 to 5,
Hmm.
because sometimes, like you said, they see you one way daily, but they may not know you as the artist. So,
Right.
um, so I always ask that question just to see like how people react, because it could be good, it could be bad. So, so yeah. But it sound like they take it well, and
Yeah.
hopefully they will download the music and share it as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, so how do you balance your personal life um, and your music life?
That's a really good question. Balance may be too favorable of a term. It's more of taking things kind of day by day. I think that is the beauty of kind of being this multi-dimensional being, and owning that and being proud of that and saying I can have this professional persona in these very professional spaces, and I can present
Hmm.
conferences, and I can coach one-on-one my students and be an instructor. But when I shut my laptop, I can also kind of go to a different place and
Hmm.
write songs. So for me, that balance looks different from day to day. I may have a day that's more like I'm Rick Ross hustling. Like, I have nothing else.
Mhm.
And I may have, days, primarily on the weekend where I can just kind of be in that space to just let ideas come to me.
Yes.
And so, and the way that I look at that is like ideas for songs and concepts, it's in this ever never ending flow or never ending cycle. And you grab it kind of like a fish out of water when you're supposed to, like when it speaks to you. So
Yes.
I kind of surrender to that process. And so
Mhm.
it may not always be on the weekends and maybe during the week, but I try to find that balance and maybe rebalance every day. So.
Mhm. And how do you? I know some artists to take care of their voice. They use a certain kind of teas, certain
Mm.
exercises. Like, what do you do to preserve your voice?
Well, kids, don't smoke cigarettes. That's number one. And it's such a good question because, growing up with a mother that is a singer, professional singer, and has been doing it for forever, she was always like, you got to drink tea and take your vitamins and take care of your voice. And it used to feel like nagging when I was a kid, but now at my big age, I'm like, no, she was 1,000% right. So definitely tease, vocal rest. I talk a lot just in the nature of my jobs. So I try to kind of take some time to just not speak and maybe just listen to music, get the vibe for whatever song I'm writing next. And I think also like having a vocal coach is important. I do work with like a vocal coaching like program and monthly subscription just to kind of keep your range tight, just to kind of keep everything just fine tuned. So I think that that's really important. And fun fact, y'all, for folks that don't live in Nashville, every artist in Nashville has a vocal coach. So don't ever feel ashamed or required if you feel you need to.
Yeah, because you can never stop learning. So I always say, even if you've been singing or playing 30 years, still have
Mhm.
someone there to teach you. Because you know, I know with me, every time I pick up my guitar, I learn something new every time. And I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure every time you go to your vocal lessons, you learn something new as well. Different
yeah,
techniques or maybe a different run. You never
right.
know.
That's
So
that's the beauty of it,
yeah.
to really be in that space. And
Hmm.
the folks who don't feel like they need it, I always tell people Denzel Washington still takes acting lessons. He's a
Hmm.
before. So it's like you could be at the top of your game or feel that way, and there is
Hmm.
literally always room for improvement. So I take that seriously.
Hmm. So of course we have like I said, we're in the personal. We'll get into your business a little bit. So of course we have the holidays coming up, right?
Yes.
Christmas and New Year's. So how do you typically spend your Christmas and New Year's? Is it the traditional way? Do your family take trips? What do you do?
That's a good question. Honestly, I chill. I feel like I'm so busy up until like the holiday season. I really make it a point to kind of recuperate like my energy, close out anything else that I needed to do, action item wise, professional or personal, and leave it in 2023 if it ain't get done. Uh, I really just spend the holidays, with family, with friends. I think it's really important to surround yourself with good people, especially going into a new year. And I think it's important to be reflective. And I'm very much a planner. Listen, I'm a type A Capricorn. You don't get
Uh-huh.
more neurotic. Um, so I take it very seriously to be reflective, to do any introspection that I need to, so that my energy is right moving into the new year. And what better way to make sure your energy is right than surrounding yourself with people that love you and that you love them back. So that's what
I gotta ask, are you the cook during the holidays?
I can whip things up in an air fryer, but beyond that, if you don't ask me to make any, no ham hock, no turkey, no, I can't do it. I can't do it. My mom's going to be very disappointed in that answer. You did your very best. I just couldn't catch on. So I let the in-laws take care of most of the cooking. I can whip up a few sides. I got my small little segment of specialties. But other than that, if it doesn't go in the air fryer and it's not completely gourmet, I probably won't. I probably won't take. So
That's one of the new questions I started asking. Like I said, because everybody played different roles during the
yeah.
holiday. Like one, for example, I had an artist on the other day. They said their job is just to Go sing, be DJ,
Okay.
and just rap the gifts. But
I
when it
could
comes
turn
to
on
kitchen,
karaoke. I can make a playlist, but other
so I'm always curious about how other families, celebrate the holidays because everybody's family is different. So it's pretty cool. So without any judgment or cancellations, because we're in a quote unquote cancel culture now.
oh, we are.
What is your opinion of the music industry right now?
Yeah, yeah. I don't have too much strong of opinion just because I ain't been in it for very long. I think that there can be a lot of focus on what isn't right and fair and equitable, and
Mm-hmm.
into and even advocate now to resolve for that. 'Cause I think it's very important to fight for artists getting paid fairly,
Yeah.
especially an artist in this day and time. You're literally looking at one. I am an independent artist. I do not
Mm-hmm.
have a label. But when I think about the music industry and some of the talent that maybe isn't coming directly from it, but artists that are being, attractive to the music
Mm-hmm.
industry right now,
Yeah.
I think the sounds and the vibes and the lyricism is just way beyond its years right now. Like what's happening in the R&B space, particularly alternative R&B, the Vanguard movement, it is
Mm-hmm.
just phenomenal. So I say that to be as neutral as I can. Yes, there are discrepancies and there are really nasty things happening in the music industry right now, but I love that creatives, like true musicians and creatives, aren't letting that stop them or deter them from putting incredible art into the world. And I think if we can focus on that as much as we can and continue to also advocate and fight for the things that we want to change, that is the most harmonious balance that we can have.
Mm-hmm. And who are your top five artists of all time? Genre doesn't matter.
I knew you were going to ask me that. I was kind of trying to think ahead. And when I like, maybe if we had the entire night, I can go through my Apple Music and go, here are my top 50 artists of all.
Okay, let me. I said this way. I give you five from each of your favorite genres. Will that make it easier?
Ooh, okay. This is gonna. Whew. Okay. This is probably gonna shock folks, but I think it's important for as a new artist, people to understand that I get like musical inspiration from literally everywhere. So if we're talking like alternative pop, it's Tame Impala.
Mm-hmm.
Impala all the way. Let's think another category. If we're talking about blues rock, Marcus King.
Yeah,
Marcus
it's
King is
nice.
incredible.
Yeah.
If we're talking about country, it's kind of a toss up between Dan and Chris Stapleton, but I will say Chris Stapleton simply because I saw him live in Memphis and
Mm-hmm.
he took my edges away. So Chris Stapleton, 1,000%. In this alternative R&B pop space, Yeba, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where I'm at on the finger scale right now, but I would say R&B, Jasmine Sullivan, Lucky
Yeah.
Day, Victoria Monet, just super, super talented, incredible folks that, I draw inspiration from as well. And I can't leave out my boy Frank Ocean because I've been a day one Frank Ocean fan since like 2014. So hopefully one day if he sees this, he'll be like, yeah, my girl had my back. So
Is there do you have like a set of artists that you love to collaborate with?
yeah, I think Frank Ocean would definitely be one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and this is just my humble opinion, folks, across genres who is really leading like the lyricism movement right now in the
Mm-hmm.
R&B pop space, love to collaborate with Billie Eilish. I think
Okay.
she's well beyond her years in terms of her artistry and her songwriting abilities. And I think I'm a songwriter, honestly, before I'm a singer. So that's super inspirational to me. So
Mm-hmm.
I would say like Billie Eilish is up there for sure. Yeah.
Okay. And to this point, who do you think has been the most influential? Who's inspired you the most? King Rosa. Who has inspired you the most to this point? Um,
Mm,
it can be personally, somebody seen on TV.
yeah. Musically and personally, I have to say my mother. My mother has inspired me the most. just to see her continue to use her gift
Mhm.
inside and outside of church. And I've said this many, many times before, but I definitely want to say it here. I wasn't always as dedicated and diligent in this space,
Mhm.
putting my art out there. There was years where I hated my voice.
Mhm.
Even you're growing up and like your voice
Yeah.
changes. And so, growing up in church, I was always a soprano. Like that is how people came to know me and my voice and
Mhm.
how I sounded. And as I got older, I kind of androgynous tone to my voice
Mhm.
where this could be a man, could be a woman, we don't know. Like it kind of throws people off because my speaking voice is very different than my singing voice.
Mhm.
But long story short, it was years where I gave up on music. I was like, I'm a full-time student. I'm working my butt off. Like I don't see how music fits into my life. And furthermore, I know that I love it so much that if I can't give it 100%, I don't want to do it at all. So there was
Gotcha.
a good 5, 6 year gap where I didn't sing, I didn't
Mhm.
write. I had felt like permanent writer's block, and I
Mhm.
really had no. I had the desire in my heart, but
Mhm.
I didn't know how to go and pursue it. And I was intimidated that I didn't know all the things. I was intimidated by the fact I didn't have the resources. I didn't know where to start. And so burning journals was just such a big monumental point for me because I decided that didn't matter and
Mhm.
I wasn't going to rob the world of my gift and the message that I had to say. So my mom was a huge, even to the point where I was like, okay, it's annoying. But every time we would be on the phone, she was like, don't give up on music, don't give up on your gift, keep practicing, keep singing, keep
Mhm.
going. And I don't think, actually, I know that I wouldn't be even sitting here right now talking to you about my debut EP if my mom didn't just stay on me to make sure that I did what I needed to do. So that's what I'm most.
And what is your mother's name?
Her name is Denise
Okay. And what's her last name?
Flippin.
Okay. So big shout out to Denise Flippin for pushing it through and allowing her to throw this on the back burner forever. And like you said, she's been a part of some major things herself, so she knows what she's talking about.
You know what she's
She's
talking
not
about.
she's not just flapping her gums per
Yeah,
se.
yes.
um, of course, like when it comes to the people that you work with so far, like your producers, and just your overall team,
Mm.
how do you think they would describe you as an artist? Do you think
Mm.
you was hard to work with making this project, or easy to work with, or man, they just glad it's over? Or how do you think that? You know,
Well,
how
I
do
might be biased, no, but really, like what you see is what you get. There is
you,
no alternate personality of Delana. So I'm a really big proponent of treating everybody with kindness and learning right alongside folks that I've been working with. Again, I've been blessed to work with some of, honestly, in my opinion, the best of the best in Nashville when it comes to production and engineering and even accompaniment. So I would say they would describe me as pretty easygoing. I think I can be super hard on myself. So there were moments where it was just frustrating, but I was frustrated at myself because I wanted it to sound a certain way and I couldn't get the vision out in my head and blah blah blah. But I have had nothing but just incredible experiences with my music team, at least for this first EP. And I'm just super excited to be working on the next one that will be released next year. So if that's any testament that my team doesn't think I suck, then I will be working with the same team for the next EP.
yes, ma'am. Apparently, you did great then. If you guys already played in the next project,
Yes.
um, how would you say, well, not to sound cocky or anything, but how would you say you differ from other artists?
Mm. Without getting too much into splitting hairs as far as comparison about who I sound like the most or look like or write like, I think that how I compare to other artists is just, again, just being my authentic self. I think that was one of the biggest lessons that I was indirectly taught as I was writing burning journals, and something that I had to kind of figure out for myself. I think it's really easy with social media which is can be a really, really great tool, but it's also a tool of comparison, right? Like, man, I can't hit the notes like she can, and I'm not a belter like this girl on American Idol, and I can't do this, and my range isn't this. I think what makes me unique and me special is that I know what my strengths are and I build upon that. So like, I know I'm not going to be hitting no Mariah Carey notes. I am a Brandy, Toni Braxton type of girly, and that is my sweet spot. And lyrically, I'm a little bit more risque. Maybe lyrically, I'm more akin to Billie Eilish or SZA. But I embrace and own all of that, and so it's less of writing and making music that I think other people will like, or that I think the radio will like, or what I think is going to go viral. And again, making music and writing music that is authentic to me in my life. So that's where I think I differ.
Okay. And we're getting towards the end of the conversation this evening. What, of course, you know, you had the follow up project, right? What else do you have coming up?
Yeah, so it's very, very early in the works, but I will have another sophomore EP coming out in 2024. I'm super excited about. So for this one, definitely expect a little bit more of that alternative R&B meets neo-soul type of vibe. So I'm super excited. I'm working with the incredible producer that actually produced the single "In Love with the Leo," Mark Evich. He's out of LA. So super excited to fly there in a few months. Put everything together. So that's what I have coming up. I also have a acoustic cover series that I'm doing with the wonderful Zach Gardner, and that's starting in January. So you'll be able to catch that on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all the things. There may be another secret project mixtape that I'm working on with an incredible duo, Joey Ocean and Crucial, that make up the duo Pins Deep. So we're also in talks of doing a mixtape for that. So without too much and being a little bit more vague than maybe folks would like for me to be, 2024 is going to be undoubtedly a really explosive year. So I'm excited.
And what about performances, or are you gonna wait on those to the projects?
No, I mean, really, any chance I can get to do live performances in Nashville. I mean, hell, I'm in Nashville. That's like the live performances. To continue promoting Burning Journals and even doing some live covers and a few honky tonks. People that live in Nashville know that live music is literally everywhere, like even your local dentist office. So I'm scrappy, I'm hungry, I'm a new artist. So any chance that I can get to again share my gift with the world in a live setting, I'm all for it. So I will definitely make sure everybody is updated on social media when those dates are concrete.
Okay. And since you brought up social media, can you give us your social media handles?
Of course. So the YouTube page is up and coming. I want to make sure I can get that set up for the acoustic covers, but you can find all the things on my Instagram, which is DALONA. And it's funny, I've had that Instagram handle since high school because my name is often pronounced DALONA, and so I phonetically spell it out on Instagram.
I messed it up myself.
Hey, listen, that's why I spelled it out. I don't want nobody feeling, thrown away. So Instagram and TikTok is DALONA, so it's DUHLAHNUH, so DALONA. And there you will get all of my day-to-day shenanigans and music updates and all of the things. So that'll be my main source of communicating with my fans.
And before we go, can you give some inspiration to aspiring artists or educators?
Yeah. Aspiring educators, honestly, I don't know if I can have a ton of advice, like your pathway is your pathway, but what I can say for aspiring artists is, as cliche as it sounds, keep going. If you're like me, who feels like they need to know all the things before they can pursue something, or feel they need to have all their ducks in the row before they cross the street, I promise you, if you have that mindset, your ducks will cross the street before you do. So please do not confuse fear with strategy, because it's really easy to feel like I have to be strategic. I have to have everything set in stone before you actually make the leap. You won't make the leap, because there's never going to be a perfect time to start. There's never going to be perfect conditions. And you literally have to understand that you have an unallotted amount of time on this earth, right? And if you're not doing what you want to do and doing things that bring you joy and doing doing things and putting out creativity and content out in the world that really fulfills you as a person, I promise you, like you there will never be a better time to do it. Like, you don't want to sit on your deathbed wishing, I really wish I would have been more brave. And that was my wake up call in starting Burning Journals. I said, I really do not want to sit on my deathbed just wishing and praying that, gosh, I should have started that EP. I should have put that singing, video online. So don't worry about being cringy. It's gonna feel awkward. It's gonna feel very, very vulnerable. But the people who are with you, really cherish them, because it's gonna take time to ramp up and really get the exposure that you want. So don't despise humble or small beginnings. You have to keep going. Even when the folks that, said they were going to support you and they don't support you, keep going anyway. Yeah. If you don't have all the resources and 10 grand in your bank account to start small and keep going anyway. Because again, if it's your passion, if it's what you want to do not rob the world of that. The world deserves to hear you.
And definitely don't rob yourself neither.
Don't rob yourself.
Yeah. How can the listening audience sow into your vision, your actual musical journey? How can they sow into that?
Yeah, so definitely right now, I mean, obviously we can, there's possibilities for crowdfunding, which you can contact me directly for that. But I think the biggest way to do that is just exposure and likes and reshares and word of mouth and really getting the music out there. That is the best and easiest way, and so, leaving your opinion, like inbox, don't be afraid to inbox me or DM me and tell me, oh, this is my favorite song. Like, especially for new artists, like it's very encouraging to kind of get some of those messages from day to day. So likes, comments, reshares, repost, that is the most frictionless way to continue to support.
Okay. So again, guys, she has an awesome project called Burning Journals. Let me back up before we go. How did you get that title?
Burning Journals?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It's funny because after I wrote Quarter Life Crisis and I told you about how, vulnerable that song is, at least lyrically, every song that I wrote and was like, this is going to go on the EP, whatever it's going to be called, it's going to go on the EP. Mm-hmm. As I started to kind of, set my track list, every song had moments where it felt like a journal entry. Mm-hmm. Every song had moments where it was like, it felt like that was something very vulnerable to my past and my present. Mm-hmm. And so that's where kind of the name Burning Journals come from. And we know that fire represents cleansing. And so it almost felt like, I need to write this down. I need to get this out. And in a way, it's cleansing me. Like it's a healing process. So even in the promo video, shout out to Rebel, who did the visuals for this particular project. It was me putting the journal in the fire to say, like, I've said all that I needed to say. It's out there in the world. And now I can burn it. Now I can be cleansed of it. So that's really where the name Burning Journals came from.
All right, man. You heard her. This ain't VH1, but you heard behind the story. Behind the songs. And of course, she's an amazing person as well as an artist. So definitely go support the new project, and also look out for the upcoming projects, because she's going to be hitting it hard, and she's coming with good quality and great personality, guys. It's something different and refreshing, because we need a refreshing sound. Because, the recycled sounds, it's kind of, go and throw them out. She's using live instruments, there ain't no programs here. So, that one gives it a different feel and some true soul.
Yes.
So again, this is Ontario Richard, and this is
DALONA.
And we'll catch you on the flip side. And like I said, go support us, support. Just don't stream, download. Yeah. And that is all for this evening, guys. And peace.
Peace. Thank you so much.
All right.
Bye.